Hey there, everyone, and welcome back to another video. I'm excited to share a few thoughts and ideas about the upcoming tour of the Sun through Pisces and what this is going to bring over the next 4 weeks or so. So the Sun is going to move into Pisces either on the 19th or the 20th. Of course, that's going to depend on which part of the planet you're on. And this is going to see the slow progression of planets that have been piling up in Aquarius moving into Pisces. So we're going to see Mercury follow suit on the 23rd, and that's going to bring the Sun, Mercury, Saturn, and Neptune all in Pisces. And next month in March, Mars and Venus will follow as well. So what's going to make this particular Pisces season quite unique is that we do have not only the co-presence with Saturn, but the first Sun-Saturn conjunction in Pisces. So yes, we did have a brief co-presence of the Sun and Saturn in the 2023 Pisces season, but the Sun was already halfway through Pisces by the time Saturn arrived. So we did miss the conjunction. So this time it's a little bit more intense and a little bit more possibilities around figuring out boundaries, obligations, and responsibilities this time around. So before I get into some of that, I just want to reflect on some of the ideas around the sign of Pisces. And I also would like you to think about, okay, which house of my birth chart does this apply to in my chart? And of course, therefore, your life as well. And we also had a lot of Pisces when Jupiter was there. So you might want to sort of reflect back to that time period when we also had Jupiter in Pisces, which was a very sort of pure version of that sign. A lot of people were a little bit disappointed about that transit, to be honest. And I do believe I made a video about that, and I'll pop the link in the description below if you'd like to reflect on that. And the thing is, when we're talking Pisces, we are talking a yin water sign. So water signs are obviously more internal, they're more reflective, and it's also water and Jupiter ruled. So when we think about Jupiter, we do tend to lean into the faith, hope, and optimism, and the exuberance and the largeness of Jupiter. But when we turn that inwards, it becomes about the inner journey, the inner growth and expansion. It might have to do with self-help, self-development, themes of spirituality and religion, philosophical ventures, or the sense of meaning and purpose. So it's very much more of an inward or an internal journey when we're talking about Pisces. Of course, we have those themes of forgiveness and compassion when we're talking about Pisces as well. And usually when we hear those kind of terms, we do think about the forgiveness and compassion towards others. We don't often think about it towards ourselves. So this can be, something to think about when we move into this season. And the co-presence of Saturn suggests to me, where do we need to seal up a few leaks when it comes to forgiveness, when it comes to compassion? Have we shown too much compassion to someone or something and not enough to ourselves? Or maybe we've had too many boundaries in a particular part of our life and we just sort of maybe need to let loose a little bit. So the annual tour of the Sun in Pisces is going to shine a light on what Saturn's already been trying to do for nearly 12 months now. So the first 9 to 10 days of Pisces season is going to see the Sun applying to the conjunction with Saturn, which happens at 8 or 9 degrees of Pisces. So what might that look like when we think about the symbolism of Pisces, the Sun, and Saturn? I feel like it's a reinforcement of a wall, sealing up leaks, reinforcing the riverbanks or the levee banks. Maybe it's dam walls, whatever wall you might like to think about there. In the world at the moment, there's a lot of problems. I mean, I don't think I need to list them. I think we're all quite aware of them. And so there may be a feeling of compassion fatigue, which you might need to step away bring a boundary? How much can you give to someone or something before it starts to take from you? The Sun and Saturn conjunction every year, as I mentioned, this is the first one in Pisces. So if you have planets around 9 degrees of Pisces, this is going to be something you're really going to want to watch for and hone in on. It can also bring a renewal of a commitment, a renewal of a responsibility, a vow, or a promise. What's really interesting about this conjunction happening at 9 Pisces is that this is further than Saturn has got in its tour of Pisces thus far. So in 2023, from March to December, basically, it only got to 8. Now it's at 9. So Saturn itself is in new territory and it's conjoining the Sun. So in some ways, it feels like the Saturn in Pisces story thus far was maybe like your 7-day free trial. Where do I put these boundaries in place? Where do I have to recognize a limit? And those type of Saturn ideas and keywords. Where do I have to take more responsibility? Where do I have to step up? And I've also, too, there are those times where maybe you've taken on more than your fair share and it's time to hand that baton to someone else as well. So the fact that Saturn is moving, or it's moved beyond the point that it's got in its transit thus far, and it's going to really garner a fair bit of speed as its ruler, Jupiter in Taurus, does the same thing on its approach to Uranus. The Pisces and the Saturn themes are really, there's something with this. There's something about it that is, okay, we can really make up for some lost ground here. We can really make some practical, tangible process. But before we do, there's a proverbial line in the sand that has to be drawn. What do I stand for? What do I don't? What do I, where are my values, morals, ethics? Those types of Jupiter/Saturn vibes. And Jupiter and Saturn are, very much integrated in the idea of truth, of structures around truth and morality. And Saturn and Jupiter are also, within range of aspecting each other too. So bit of a sidebar there. So the first sort of 10 days or so of Pisces season, the question really is about developing some structures around where things may have got a little bit sloppy or messy in the Pisces part of your birth chart. So me and my medieval analogies, I really think about where does the sovereign, the sun, have to reinforce the kingdom walls. And when we think about this from a practical standpoint, look at the house of your birth chart that's ruled by Pisces. Where have things maybe been well-intentioned, but a little bit sloppy, lacking in structure, lacking in some real tangible progress? And where can you now sort of turn that proverbial ship around by placing some walls up, placing some systems, some structures, some limitations around that part of your life so you can get that tangible Saturn results, or outcomes that you're looking for in that part of your life. Because Saturn often gets the reputation for just being this hard taskmaster. And yes, it's most certainly that, but it's not hard just for hard's sake. It's like hard to see what you can do. And so that's, how I'm choosing to turn this one around for you, and using that Jupiter influence around, have some faith and hope that the hardness of the moment has a meaning, it has a purpose, and that comes from within as opposed to the external. So how might we work with this practically? So what happens is we have a really interesting pile up here, and that happens on the 28th. So not only do we have the Sun-Saturn conjunction, we also have the Mercury-Saturn conjunction. So the Mercury component really does bring in a new, what's the word I'm looking for here? I'm in Neptune transits myself. A new sort of list of things to consider. You might need to sit down with yourself and your Pisces part of your chart and write a list. Get some plans in action, brainstorm some plans, with inspiration and hope for what you want out of that part of your life. So make a list, get planning, some logistics, and general organization. And that's, it's a challenge for the Pisces part of our lives where that tends to be a little bit messy. Immutable water. If you think about water, if you spill it, it's only going to sort of spread and spill and head for the lower, water is sort of lower on the elemental hierarchy. So water, is based on gravity. It's only going to go down. So if you are feeling down, if you are feeling heavy, if you are feeling fatigued, um, you know, kind of like reinforcing the wall can just sort of help contain the energy. So it's not leaking out of you, or it's not messy, or it's not lacking in a level of productivity. So, yeah, so just the basic lists, logistics, planning, organization. But it also might be about speaking. It might be about communication. It might be about having a conversation that is needing to be had, which may be a little bit difficult, which may be a little bit confronting. And it might be sort of emotional of nature, maybe something that's been pushed down, that you haven't been able to sort of really verbalize yet, but it's sort of been simmering for a little bit. This conversation might also involve things to do with Saturn. What are your expectations? With a certain area of your life, like, are you getting your expectations met? Do you even know what your expectations are? Do you know what you want? And this might also have a more of an emotional, it might be hard to verbalize. Mercury is in detriment and fall in Pisces. So while it has the capacity to feel, while it has the capacity to evoke beautiful words and emotions, it's not necessarily very clear, practical, or organized. So that's a little bit of the challenge that's here, this month as we get into the first sort of decan of Pisces season. It's going to be a little bit crunchier, a little bit heavier. There may be some conversations that are not terribly easy that might need to communicate limits, boundaries, and expectations. But what comes after that is clarity. Clarity sounds good. It's not always good, because sometimes we will see something, we might hear something, we might say something that doesn't feel so nice, but usually you're better off for knowing than not knowing. So have a good think. Think about your Pisces part of your life and how some of these ideas and concepts with the sun conjoining Saturn when Saturn's in new territory, garnering a lot of speed. And then, of course, we have the superior conjunction with Mercury, the Cazimi, all at the same time. So we really do have a Sun, Saturn, Mercury, Pisces puddle there on the 28th. So what I thought I would do in this video, which is something I rarely do here on YouTube, is share a chart example of someone who has a lot of Pisces, and to sort of show you how, these transits could or might show up for somebody. And this is what I do in the Golden Circle, which is my astrology subscription member area that I do for one member each month to show you how some of the key features of the month will work. So it's a little bit like a mini reading for a member each month. So I'm going to bring up a chart on the screen. And this chart is of a singer. His name is David Draymond. Some of you may know who that is instantly. If you do not, it is, or he is, I should say, is the lead singer of sort of a hard rock metal band, Disturbed. So what you'll see here, this is not a timed chart, FYI, so just ignore the houses for now. We don't have a time chart for this person at this point in time. So what we do see here, though, is a stellium of Pisces planets. So we have Venus in Pisces, which is a really lovely placement, a planet in its exaltation. We also have the Sun at 22 and a Mercury retrograde at 23. So this person has a similar kind of setup for what we see this month. We've obviously got the Mercury-Sun conjunction, but instead of Saturn being part of the conjunction, it is squaring all of this energy, particularly Venus. And this square is going to happen not until March. Okay, so what might we see for this person? So, when you're looking at clients, reading charts, you also want to consider what has this person maybe already been through. A lot of Neptune, okay, a lot of Neptune transits, particularly in the last couple of years, which are now over from a degree-based perspective, because Neptune doesn't go back to 23 degrees. So so that's over, and Saturn is now part of this configuration. As I said, Saturn will hit 15 degrees in March, but I would imagine that energy is already being felt. So this might be, again, those keywords of clarity. I can see what I didn't see before now that the fog of Neptune is lifted and Saturn has kind of come through like, the air conditioner when your windscreen is fogged up. And so now there's that level of perhaps visibility, clarity, new boundaries, and also maybe some tests and challenges. Because we don't know what Venus or, rules in the birth chart, we don't know exactly which house occupies by Pisces. We can't really say what areas of life this is actually affecting. But if we take Venus as a general significator of relationships, of desire, of, fun, joy, pleasure, sprinkling sugar on life, Saturn, coming up to the conjunction of this, it might be about taking that a little bit more seriously, being more of an adult around these types of themes in life. And also just kind of reinforcing some of the pressure that's already there from the natal placement. Venus square Saturn is, generally can be a tricky placement at the best of times. Obviously, there's other indicators that are happening in the birth chart this month, which is, well, not this month, but, in this period of time, which I won't speculate on terribly because obviously this is not a time to chart. But to give you an idea, Venus is really the only planet that's getting hit by Saturn in 2024, because Saturn only gets as far as 19 degrees, if my memory serves me correctly, or I could be wrong about that. Yes, 19 degrees. So the Sun, Saturn, the Sun, Mercury won't happen for David until 2025. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of how these, planets can affect people. So if you do have planets or points, within Saturn's realm, you're going to be really feeling this upcoming conjunction, and this might inspire you to sort of figure out what you need to do, what is yours to do in the respect of February and moving into March and Pisces season all round. So I hope this has really helped you. One of my own Sun Saturn commitments is to be more regular on YouTube. I know I say it all the time, but I'm taking some of my own advice, considering that Pisces is my 10th. And I also would like to say, if you do enjoy this video, please subscribe to my channel. It helps a lot. And if you really do want to dive deeper into astrology, the Golden Circle Astrology membership, my little club, is definitely the place to be. And all of the links and information are down below. So enjoy Pisces season, and I'll be back with another video really soon.